Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And for all the women, female executives, entrepreneurs out there, I've got a fantastic guest for you, Hillarie Kay. And she's an Enneagram informed burnout coach for high achievers and creator of the Burnout Recovery system. So this applies to all the audience and, particular resonates. And it's going to be a fun and fantastic conversation. And I'm happy to welcome Hillarie to the show. So welcome, Hillarie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today and get a chance to speak to you.
One of my top performing podcasts was by Francis Yu. He talked about the Enneagram. It was like huge. And so I'm happy to have you on and talk about, kind of your journey, your story, how you came to incorporate the Enneagram into your burnout recovery system.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, the Enneagram it was the thing that really radically changed my life. At 23, I was in a director level position. I was married in not the best marriage. I had two kids under three, one with special needs. And I hit rock bottom. I was completely burnt out. And I was like, how is this possible? I'm in my early 20s. Like this isn't a thing. I didn't know what was happening. I went to the doctor. I thought I was having a heart attack. And they were like, no, you simply need rest. Like, this is not a heart attack. You're having a panic attack. You need to rest. And I kind of laughed. I was like, you're hilarious. Like, I can't rest. I'm the breadwinner of my family. I'm a mom. I'm working 50, 60 plus hours a week. There's no time for that. And so I really took my burnout recovery journey in my own hands, and was like, I have to find a solution. And so I had realized as I was looking back that I could see repeated patterns in my life as a high achiever. I mean, I could go back from the time I was 3 years old, standing on stage, the lead of my church play, at the preschool play, right? I could see these patterns. And so what I realized is I knew a lot of the what. I knew what I did and where that got me, but I didn't know why. And so I went on this search and I took so many different personality assessments, and time again, they just kept on telling me the what. And I was like, this is not helpful. But the last one that I ended up taking was the Enneagram. And I remember when I got the results, I was like, tears were just streaming down my face. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is not only telling me the what, it's telling me the why. It's really dug deep into my motivations and fears and all my pain points, and then gave me a path out. I wasn't in this box, right? I wasn't in this tight box. I was in a growth system. And so from there, I got my hands on literally everything I could about the Enneagram, dove into it professionally. I ended up quitting my job. I started my own business, grew that business to a 6-figure business within a year, and realized, oh my gosh, I'm burnt out again. And then it was this really like, okay, did you actually, internalize what you've been learning? Really just laid out a step-by-step path for myself. And I've been on this recovery journey now for 8 years and have distilled it in a way that people don't have to do the 8 years of work that I did using this tool, that I've been able to help people by just how, if you understand yourself and your internal operating system, that you don't have to stop being a high achiever. That is not the solution. It's just crafting your life in a way that's sustainable for your unique operating system.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And, for a lot of the audience out there, this podcast isn't about Enneagram per se, but kind of describe like what it is, like very superficially, how it's different from other assessments and where people can go if they want to find out more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Enneagram is a personality framework based on 9 core types. But what the great thing is about this framework is it's not, like I said just a little bit ago, it doesn't put you in a type. It's a growth system. So you're connected. We have all 9 types within us, just at different percentages. And so we're connected to lots of different types, and we can lean on the different types we're connected to in our growth journey. It's also based off of intelligence centers, head, heart, and body. And so once people are able to understand what intelligence center they're in within the Enneagram, that really helps combat decision fatigue. And then it also is based on instinctual energy, where everyone has this different instinctual energies within them. And using these, I call it the Enneagram toolbox. That's what helps you to stay to it's not just a box, right? It's not just another personality assessment. It's the why, and it is a roadmap to your individual and unique growth path. And so there's so many free assessments out there. I will tell you, free assessments are only about 55% accurate because they're computer programs, right? They can't ask you follow-up questions. You're having to answer A, B, C, or D. And so what I recommend to people is if you have an opportunity to get live typed by an Enneagram practitioner, do that. But if you want to just take a test, don't take the results at face value. Really dive into the motivations of the types that you are shown are your highest and see what resonates with you, because the Enneagram is self-reported. A test can't tell you your type. Not an Enneagram practitioner can't tell you your type, because no one knows you like you know you. And so really it's that motivation and fear of each type that allows people to decide where their starting point is for growth.
Yeah, and I love that. And so, we talk about, the Enneagram, and I love how you described it's the why. And it's almost like when you find something that helps you understand yourself better, it's almost like, this aha moment. Yeah. And so one thing that is really interesting is, particularly in today's burnout and mental health, a lot of the audience are doctors and looking to do what you're doing, coaching and helping others. What is this idea of that's curious to me is burnout triggers, and you talk about energy inventory exercise from your book to identify and address their burnout triggers.
Yes, yes. So every Enneagram type has common obstacles that we face that kind of line up with their core fear and core motivation. And these tend to be what our burnout triggers are, those common obstacles that are repeated in our life. If you're able to look at that and say, okay, it gives you a starting point for, I call them like our alarm bells, right? Ooh, I'm starting to exhibit this behavior. That means I'm probably in my cycle. But sometimes when we're burnt out, we are not at the beginning of a recovery journey, or if we're just going and aren't super self-aware, it's hard to recognize those triggers in the moment. So I first start like very basic with my clients and having them do an energy inventory. So you don't even have to know your Enneagram type to do something like this. And so it's basically assessing your life and figuring out the things in your life, because when we're burnt out, we realize that we have no idea where our energy is going. We just know that we don't have any. So this exercise helps us center ourselves and pay attention to where our energy is going. So I walk people through a quick exercise where they outline their energy givers, meaning the things that they do and they're not putting any energy into, but they feel refreshed and get energy back. So like for me, this is like going and listening to live music. Like that just fills my soul and gives me energy. So, and then I have people do, what are your energy traders, or what's that reciprocal energy? Meaning, what are things that you do in your life that you're giving energy, but you're getting energy back? And so for me, like that's like coaching for me, or doing podcasts like me, like I'm exerting energy, but after I end a coaching session or after I end a podcast interview, I have more energy than when I started, right? But I still gave a little bit. And then there's the third category, the energy depleters. And these are the things that you do that just like you recognize, oh my gosh, these like deplete me completely. And for me, this is like doing diabetic care for my son. It is a drain for me. But it's a constant in my life, right? And I have to recognize, and everyone has to recognize, that we are going to have energy givers, depleters, and traders within our lives. And it's about figuring those out and becoming aware of those so that we can structure our day for our unique operating system based on where our energy is going. And like I said, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. You don't even have to know your Enneagram type to do this, but it's that first step in awareness of where your energy is going. And then you can begin to observe your life once you start thinking about, ooh, did this give me energy? Did this take away energy from me? You can begin to craft your week in a way that's sustainable to you. And I really recommend like people having their week in like a 20-60-20 kind of format, to where at a minimum, you need 20% energy givers in your week, every week, and no more than 20% energy depleters in your week. I do not believe in balance. Like, I do not think balance is attainable. I believe in equilibrium, right? Like, our personal lives directly reflect into our professional lives and vice versa. So sometimes your personal life is going to take more of your energy, right? Sometimes your professional life is going to take more of your energy, but you are in control of the reins on where your energy is going. And if you see that your week has, you begin to observe like, oh my gosh, my week now has 60% of energy depleters. Well, you can be like, okay, what can I remove? What can I take from my energy giver list? And arrange your week in a way that, again, it works for you. And a week that works for you might be someone else's hell week, right? We are all unique and all different on the things that give us energy and deplete our energy.
Yeah, I love that. And we're gonna talk about this idea of what is your burnout recovery system. And one thing that is a common term in the medical profession is self-care. And you have very innovative ideas around self-care. You say that self-care isn't a cure for burnout. So describe that and how you actually cure burnout.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. That self-care term, if there is one term in the recovery process that our world talks about that would be changed, that would be it for me. Self-care and balance. Like, those are the two, like, send me on a loop. But here's the deal is self-care, right? We're told that self-care is things like taking baths, going on walks. I don't know. The list is endless of those, like getting a massage, all of those things. Those are considered self-care. And what I think is like, no, that's basic care. If we are using those things for a curative measure, they're not going to work, because those are fundamental needs that our head, heart, and body need to survive. That is not self-care. That is well-being. And if we don't know how to take care of ourselves preventative, right? Those are preventative measures. Do I absolutely incorporate, like I even posted the other day, like part of my making sure I'm not getting in my burnout recovery or burnout cycle is I take a scalding bath with Epsom salts and sweat it out. Like, that is part of it, but that is not curing it, right? That's something I do when I realize my symptoms. I'm like, ooh, I haven't taken enough preventative care. So I put those into like the preventative care category. But the real curative care, that real curative work that you do, it's all internal. It's all facing what is that inner self-talk, that dialogue, facing your fears head on, being open and honest and vulnerable about the why you're doing this. And often the high achievers who are in a burnout cycle, they cannot come to terms with the fact that they're scared to fail. They're scared to not be perfect. They're scared to appear weak. Their safety or security in their relationships is going to go, right? And so they overwork. They don't take care of themselves. They don't put forth these preventative measures because they're so focused on their fears. And once you recognize and can admit your fears and do the inner work to making, I don't tell people, I'm not going to have you stop climbing the ladder. But what I am going to help you do is to have that inner confidence that you don't need to climb the ladder. You just want to. And there's a difference between wanting and needing to. And so it's really a process of finding, like, real self-care is understanding yourself and giving your head, heart, and body what it uniquely needs in order to grow and to develop.
I love how you describe self-care as just basic. It's like food, water, clothing, shelter. And and I love this idea. When you mentioned the term burnout cycle, describe that? Is it like, because, people are experiencing burnout and burnout cycle, describe what that is, if it's like, if it's a single event or if it
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question so much because, we go around, our words matter, right? What comes out of our mouth matters. And we go around, there's people saying all the time, like, oh, I'm so burnt out. And I'm like, are you really? Or are you stressed? Are you just stressed? Are you overwhelmed, right? We don't get burnt out overnight. It is a cycle that starts with stress building up in our bodies. The definition of burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion, right? Burnout. So before we get to that burnout, we have stress in our mental, physical, emotional world. If we let that build up, that then builds up to overwhelm, right? Build up even farther, that turns into burnout. So what I mean by the burnout cycle and what I help people uncover is their unique burnout cycle. So what are your stress signs? What are your unique operating system stress signs? Then what does it look like when you're at that overwhelm stage? And then what does it look like when you're in burnout? Because the goal is we can't get rid of stress. We're in these positions. Stress is like that's just part of life, right? But it's what we do with the stress and how we manage the stress that helps us not get in further into that burnout cycle, and helps us, okay, we're going to take this stress. We see it. We see these alarm bells. Now we can take those. We can start incorporating more of those preventative practices to help us not continue into the cycle.
Yeah, I love that. And, as we come to the end, talk about your burnout recovery system and how you incorporate the Enneagram, how kind of give us a flavor and how clients can contact you and follow you.
Thank you. So my burnout recovery system is a 12-week program. I do this for individuals and for teams. And I have a book coming out in April 2024, that distills the 12-week program in a nice little book. But what I do is I take people through a 12-week journey of self-discovery. And you learn about yourself. You identify your Enneagram type. We craft your burnout cycle. We do that energy inventory exercise that we just talked about. And then I take you through your Enneagram toolbox. So your connection points on the diagram, how those can help you recover from burnout, how understanding how to integrate head, heart, and body, your intelligence centers, how those can help you recover. So I'm building your curative, it's all individualized, your curative practice. We talk about your unique instinctual energy and how we can use that to help you cure the burnout. And then it's about developing that sustainability. And so there's step-by-steps on how to, once you've incorporated these tools, how do you make them sustainable so you don't end up in the same cycle again?
I love that. How can people contact you, find you on social media, check out your work, reach out to you and work with you?
Yeah, so I am Hillarie Kay everywhere. So my name's spelled a little funky. It's Hillarie Kay. And so you can find me at HillarieKay.com. I'm Hillarie Kay on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And then my book, The Burnout Recovery System, will be available starting in a couple weeks on theburnoutrrecoverysystem.com and on Amazon. So those are, but like I said, I try to make it simple. It's Hillarie Kay or the Burnout Recovery System. You should be able to find me if you Google those two phrases anywhere. So.
Yeah. I love this conversation. And for all the audience out there, a lot of the points that you talked about with the Enneagram and burnout really resonate with them. So I encourage you to reach out to Hillarie, check out her socials, give her a like and follow, website, check out her book. All these links will be in the show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.